Good afternoon. My name is Malcolm Tyree, and I am the Session 2 panel host. And that means that I get to ask all of the questions out of my team here that I've got up here. We'll introduce them here in just a few moments, but I want to just kind of take a moment and set the stage for the conversation that we're going to be having here over these next few moments. And, really, as you think about it, in our society, it's about dividing people up. We're dividing people up in so many different segments and ways that create silos. But the church is God's chosen instrument for unity. Oh, I don't know that you guys believe that. The church is God's chosen instrument for unity. The Apostle Paul, he highlights the unity between the Jews and the Gentiles through Christ in his letter to the church at Ephesus. Jesus prayed for unity among his followers, as recorded in John 17. So why are we allowing age to separate us? Why are we allowing age to separate the church? So in our panel discussion today, we're going to explore how a rising generation is seeking after Christ and how a seasoned generation can be a more active part of the journey. Okay? So the rising generation, they're seeking after Christ. How can we as a seasoned generation live into what Psalm 78:4 says? We will not hide these truths from our children. We will tell the next generation about the glorious deeds of the Lord, about his power and his might and his wonders, so the next generation might know him, even the children not yet born, and they in turn will teach their own children. All right? So are you excited about hearing from this crew up here? I'm excited about hearing from them. So I'll introduce them all here in just a few moments. But just real quick, I want to let you know that recently, this past 2 months actually, we've been hosting what's called the Pastoral Leadership Connection, which is on YouTube. And we had a conversation about the 7 generations active in the church today. And if you've not had a chance to check that YouTube video out, I want to encourage you to go and watch it. You can scan the QR code and save that for later. But we had an interesting and helpful conversation understanding how the 7 generations are the part, but more importantly, how we can do our part to encourage one another rather than letting ourselves be separated. We also had a conversation with 9 students from Mid-America Christian University. All of them were active in Christian ministry. Some of them are ministry majors. And these 9 undergrads shared some of their fears and hopes regarding congregational ministry. So if you want to get some insights as to what, Gen Z is thinking, at least in Oklahoma City at Mid-America Christian University, then feel free to check out that video as well. So here's our panel, all right? There's me. I'm their host, Malcolm Tyree. I not only pastor New Vida Church, but I'm also representing Intern Academy. And if you want more information about that, feel free to see me. We got Phil down there at the end, and we got Megan, and then we got Manny, all right? So our illustrious team here. So we're going to take a moment here. And Phil, why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Wake and your role at Wake and kind of what the ministry is happening there. And would you do us a favor real quick? Would you take that hat off? Because that's old. That's outdated, man. All right? And go Rangers, all right?
Here's the thing. I said I wouldn't take the stage with Manny if he was wearing this Rangers. But here I am, supporting the Astros. We got to let little... Yes.
What was it you said at
We'll be
the...
back.
What was it? There was the interview, Astros in 6. Yeah. Houston runs Texas.
I didn't say the year, though. I said 2024. In my head, I was thinking next year, Stros are going to be back on top.
All right. Go Rangers.
I'm Phil.
Go Rangers.
Don't listen to him. Just block it out for now. No, I get the privilege of serving as the Youth and Young Adults Director at Wake Church. I've been doing that from the start of this year. Newlywed. I've been married about 1 year and 9 months now. A brand new son. He is 2 months old. So a lot of new opportunity, a lot of new things that are happening in my life. But over this past year, we've really seen God do some amazing things in the launch of our young adults ministry, a tough transition season with our youth that has ended up being super beneficial as we've worked through that. We had a very amazing youth camp that we'll talk about later on, but it's just been a really fun 10 months now, and we're going to keep on tracking forward.
We're glad to have you here with us, Phil. All right, so our next panelist is Megan. Some of you may recognize her. She's married to a guy who walks around this building excitedly today and tomorrow. But Megan, welcome, and tell us a little bit about your role at Wake.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Again, my name's Megan. I am Pastor Ephraim's wife. I also oversee our children's ministry alongside a very good friend of mine, Autumn. We now have Justin on board. You probably see Justin right now. He's our service producer. Very excited to see the growth that is happening within our ministry. We moved to 2 services in April. And we have seen tremendous growth, not only within the church, but within the children's ministry. We are seeing lives changed and transformed through the gospel message of Jesus Christ for these children. Lots of baptisms happening. It's been very exciting to be on this journey.
All right, glad to have you on board, Megan. Thanks for supporting Ephraim and supporting us and supporting Wake and all those things that you're doing. And for those of you who are keeping score of the way that the world wants to segment us, Gen Z is 13 and up. Gen Alpha is the children's ministry of today. So those of you who are keeping score, 13 to 26 is what's considered Gen Z. And if you got kiddos that you're working with that are under 26 years of age, all right, Gen Z, but then under 13, the real kiddos are Gen Alpha. So if you're keeping score that way. All right, so real quick, Megan, how many kids do you have?
We have 3 children. So we have 2 Gen Z and 1 Gen Alpha.
2 Zers and 1 Alpha. All right, so straddling the line right there. And Phil down there has definitely got a Gen Alpha. All right, so next up we got Manny coming to us from Kilgore land, all right, the great booming metropolis out in East Texas. So,
booming, very booming.
Yeah, oil boom.
My name is Manny Cirillo. I have the privilege of being the senior pastor at Cross Point Church in Kilgore, Texas. We've seen God move through transitions, ministering during the pandemic. I became the senior pastor 3 weeks before COVID broke out. And so our Lord has a wonderful sense of humor. And so
he knew the man for the job.
It sounded good for about a week and a half. And I thought, Lord, you sure about this? And so, but no, it's been amazing to see what God has done in and through the life of our church. There were a lot of people at that point who weren't ministering and they were kind of on the fences about really investing. And unfortunately, they never came back. But what God did is he filled all of those seats with people who were far away from Jesus Christ. And so we've had the amazing opportunity to make disciples that make disciples. And we're living in that and praising God for it. So.
All right. Now, Manny, do you have any children in your church, any youth in your church? And if so, how's it going?
Yes. So, we've got 3 children. I don't know what generation they are. They're the generation of drive mommy and daddy crazy. And so
that's every generation.
Oh yeah. So they got that figured out. But yes, so we are blessed. We had to live through the life cycle of a dead youth ministry. And so we learned that as ministers of the gospel that there are life cycles to ministries. And so we got down before COVID broke out where we were down to 2 or 3 kids. Teenagers, correct. And so we had to make the tough decision to look ourselves in the mirror and realize that we needed to put the end to that season of ministry and then be ready for what God wanted to bring next. And we've been living in what that looked like. It was a tough transition, but man, God provided amazing leadership. We have an amazing youth pastor who was someone that my brother was discipling. And then when my brother moved to Conroe, one of the things he put on my to-do list was to continue to disciple Steve Mena, who is now leading our youth ministry that's thriving. So
you didn't run out and go hire a youth pastor? You raised one up from within the church?
I'm going to tell you. So you want to, scare a 20-something-year-old, you look them in the eye and tell them God's calling you into ministry.
That's an important statement. If you've not made that statement to somebody recently, you may want to begin making that statement.
Yeah.
Because pastors, some of the folks that are in our congregation will only know they're called to ministry when we extend the call to them. When we announce to them that they have that calling on their life, because they can't see it.
That's right.
Because they can't see their own fruit.
That's right.
So, Good job. Way to
Hey.
go. All right. Okay. Hey, so we're going to jump into some of the questions, and panelists have had a chance to think about it. So if their answers are really bad, then you know they didn't do their homework. All right. We're talking about a next-gen panel, so why not? All right. So earlier this year, in February, there was what was known as the Asbury outpouring. All right. And so we heard the news of a special experience among students at Asbury University, as it related to a strong move of God upon students under the age of 26 years. And as you think about that and maybe what you've witnessed in your local context or what you're reading about in the news or just seeing on social media even, how would you describe the responsiveness of Christian and church teens? And I distinguish Christian and church because there are a lot of teenagers who go to church who aren't Christian, all right? But particularly among those who are, familiar with the gospel or have responded to Jesus, how would you describe the responsiveness of those teens and young adults today as it relates to the move of God? Phil, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, when I read this question, the first thing that popped into my head, I was talking with a friend, and we are really big into looking at statistics among youth and young adults in today. But there's something that is like really hard to calculate with youth, and something that I've seen very evident is that in today's younger generation, they want something real. They want something authentic. And so gone are the days of just providing a service for them one time a week and inviting them out to Sunday. They want somebody that's going to do life with them. And so one of the big things is that we've been able to form is what I like to just call authentic community. And what I feel like is the driving factor behind any move of God is whenever the younger generation or a group of people in general, specifically in this context, the younger generation can find authentic community amongst each other. And they're not just going to church for a service, but they're doing life with one another, and they are being the church with one another and carrying each other's burdens. And you see true life change happen in that form because they're not just, like I'm saying, they're not just going to church because it's a to-do list, but they're going to church because they have a real relationship, and that starts at the top. It starts with the leaders living out this real relationship, having real community amongst our peers, and setting the example for the next generation and helping build and lead that and encouraging them to find this authentic and this real community. And I feel like that is something that was probably a Kickstarter for this Asbury revival. The outpouring was a grasp on authentic community and what it looked like to worship God authentically, no matter any parameters that you put on it, just simply authentically worshiping God.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. If you're taking notes like I am right here, maybe you want to write down something like, do life with them and remember community bleeds down. By the way, that seems to be a phrase that is echoing in the earlier session. There was the anxiety bleeds, passion bleeds, community bleeds. All right, Megan, why don't you weigh in here? What do you see among children or even your own teenagers?
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking as he was sharing. I can attest to what Phil's speaking on. Since he's come on board, overseeing the youth and his leaders, they have been very authentic with my youth. They're investing in them. They're taking time to go to their sporting events. They're taking time to pour into them by taking them out to lunch or hanging out with them, spending quality time with them, mentoring them. It's been huge. And then you see this Asbury, revival, followed by youth camp this summer, and I have seen such growth within my own personal teens walk with Christ, especially my daughter. I see her doing Bible studies at night with her friends. There's an excellent youth age student that's a junior in high school that is just pouring into the males. I have seen a difference this year in our youth ministry. It's been amazing.
Yeah, I was at that youth camp with your daughter, and when the speaker looked at her and said, I see in you, I see in you. I mean, she was just like, boom, eyes open, and all of a sudden she became incredibly responsive. So I'm going to push that to us again. The I see in you is incredibly important. And what the speaker said is, I see in you a leader. and it was powerful. And Phil, when we were there, you remember we had like 30 students come up front out of the 300 students that were there saying, hey, I feel God's calling me to a special type of ministry, church ministry. So pretty powerful stuff there. Manny, anything you want to throw in, anything additional to what's going on here that they've shared already?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what they're saying, it's just genuine community, authenticity. I mean, me and my youth director, we talk about it all the time, but it's the fact that he goes out to ball games. We have some of the kids in our ministry who don't have a parent who can get out to a baseball game or a football game, who can get out to a recital. Maybe it's a single mom who's working, things of that nature. And so Steve and his wife, Daisy, they go out, they're cheering them on, they're doing life with them. And so even, this week during youth, there's one of the kids that are, who's part of our youth, he's raised by a single mom. And every time Steve walks in the room, his eyes light up as if a spiritual father walked in the room. And that only happens through investing and being, living life on purpose and speaking into the life of that young individual and maybe telling them what they've never heard before, like you're loved or God has a plan for your life.
All right. Well, we're going to continue with the next question here. And so, Manny, this is to you. We're going to start with you, and then we'll go down to Phil, because Phil's probably going to have the best answer. No, I'm just messing. All right, here we go. With the plethora of social media channels and communication options, how are communication styles different in the generation coming up? And, for instance, should I text, email, or call a young person? Which medium are they most likely to respond to?
You want to just go straight to Phil? Because I feel like you're coming after me because I'm 41 years old.
41 years old, yeah. That's okay. I'm 48.
You can ask my friends. I'm kind of a wizard on some of this. No, I've even in equipping young leaders who are now part of leadership and volunteering, you will find that things that to my generation are very simple, like responding back to a text message,
Phil.
or a simple emoji, thumbs
Phil.
up that says, I got you, I heard you, I'm on it. That's just not a priority. And so email, good luck,
How many notifications you got on your phone, Phil?
252 text messages.
250 some. Okay, all right. So you're finding the text messaging it not working for you?
No.
Email definitely not.
Nope.
All right, Megan, come on. You're a parent.
Yes, I would say text messaging is definitely.
Text messaging is easy.
Other than social media, I would say text messaging is number one. Email is pretty non-existent with the teenagers unless they're trying to email a professor or a teacher. And what was the other form?
Well, real quick, I want to ask you a specific question because.
Calling. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, let's ask this question because this
Although
is.
I would say girls do talk on the phone still more than boys, and boys communicate through games too.
Yeah.
So.
I forgot
text
that
messaging
question.
would be, and social media would be
Wait,
the top.
before we go to Phil, real quick, Megan, when you're talking to parents of children, so you're the children's minister, I think you're a school teacher as well, and so when you're trying to engage parents of, say, an 8-year-old, and so the parent of an 8-year-old is somewhere maybe around 26 to 28 years of age, which puts them in the bubble between millennial and Gen Z, how do you communicate with them?
Text messaging.
Text messaging. All
Unless
right.
I see him face to face.
Okay.
It's
all right.
primarily text.
Just wanted to check. Okay, Phil, fill us in. All right. This is your job. You're the youngin'. How old are you, by the way?
I was about to open with that. I'd like to let everyone know I am classified as a millennial. I'm 27. I made the cut.
He's at
just
the
barely.
cusp.
I made the cut. So yes, texting is very difficult with you students, and it's difficult if you're texting me also. I'm really bad about it. But what we have found that has worked, especially recently, is one, try to talk to the parent if you can. That simply works better. We try to grab a parent email from every single student so that we have a monthly email that gets sent out